Hey, what's going on, guys? Joey here. You all know me as Xclusive, and today I wanted to talk about anxiety. I haven't made too big of a video on this yet, and I got some requests to do it in my last vlog, so I figured we'd talk about it today. For those of you guys that have been following my channel now for a while, you know I've had a pretty big history with anxiety, and I'll show you guys some pictures, and be sure I'll definitely, tell you my story at some point here in this video. But I wanted to make this video hopefully to not only inform some of you guys that really have no idea what anxiety is. I'll talk about that a little bit, and then I also want to talk about how I got through it, what my methods of reducing my anxiety were, and hopefully it'll help you in some way. So I guess we should start with the very basic, and that is, what is anxiety? I literally get that question over and over and over again from a lot of the younger viewers. Whenever I talk about anxiety, they always ask what it is, because honestly, some people don't know what anxiety is. And in case you're one of those people, anxiety, if you ask anybody or you look anywhere, if you look it up anywhere on the internet, they're all basically going to tell you it's just that feeling of being uneasy, nervous, or scared, or worried. And it usually is in result, or it's because of some sort of inevitable event that you don't know the outcome of, that something that you are the unknown, which is very present in whatever the situation is, and it makes you nervous, it makes you anxious, and that's what anxiety is. Now, I could go on for days and start naming different causes left and right of why you have anxiety, why I have anxiety, why somebody else might have anxiety, but honestly, there is no set cause. That's the whole reason it's so difficult to determine what the actual root cause is of your specific anxiety. But obviously, for one, trauma can usually cause anxiety, whether it's been some sort of abuse, whether it's been maybe somebody died. There's so many different traumas left and right that you can that I'm sure somebody can relate to. But trauma is a big one that can cause a lot of anxiety. And really, the other big thing, I mean, like I said, if you look it up anywhere on the internet, a lot of the things that are going to cover anxiety, the causes of it, are really stress. I mean, any built-up stress is just bad. Stress is just bad in itself. But any built-up stress, even it could be on the smallest things, the more stressed you are, the more anxiety you're going to feel over the years. And I think that's a really big one. I think that a lot of people overlook such a small thing as stress, and really don't understand how big stress relief and management can be into actually helping you with anxiety, because stress, let alone anxiety, are things that you really don't want to feel. From what I've learned over the years, and from what I've noticed just in myself, there's I think 7 or 6 different categories or different types of anxiety that I could name off. But some of the symptoms, if you don't even know if you have anxiety, I'm just going to read these off of a list. But trembling, feeling like you have a knot in your stomach, that's a really big one. I feel like whenever I'm anxious, I feel like I've just swallowed some sort of like golf ball, not golf ball, that's kind of small, like a softball. And so that feeling of a knot in your stomach, nausea, headaches, backaches, sweating, restlessness, irritability, trouble staying up or falling asleep. Those are a lot of big ones, and I think one of the biggest things, I'm going to just throw this out here now. I was going to say this at the end of the video, but I'm going to say now, do not take any online tests or online quizzes or any of that kind of stuff, because I swear, if you take any of those, you will then be convinced that you have anxiety, leukemia, genital herpes, and some sort of deadly disease, and I promise you don't. You probably just have anxiety. So don't look it up on the internet. Don't take any tests or anything like that to have them like diagnose what you have. You just have anxiety, and regardless of any of the types that there are, I think everything that helps is kind of I mean, there's obviously certain things that are going to help for certain different types of anxiety, but I think there's definitely some overlapping components there. So I'm going to talk about my story, and then obviously what helped me. And obviously, I mean, I have to say this now, what helped me might not help you. I mean, everybody's different, but I think it's worth saying, and it's worth trying. And if it does help you, then that's great. So my story, I think this is probably the reason I was so nervous to record this video, is just because, like, these are things that I'm sure some of you guys that experience anxiety as well, or have experienced any sort of trauma, they're things that you've buried so far inside yourself, that you've just repressed for so long, and trying to like going and searching for it is really not a good feeling. But yeah, my story, just like everybody else, I mean, there's no set cause for the reason for my anxiety. Like I said, I still suffer from anxiety today. There's no set cause and reason for it, but there are a few things that I've gone through, and things that I deal with that have definitely heightened my anxiety more than it should be. But one of those big ones is just family problems. I mean, me and my dad, and he's a great guy. I mean, we've changed over the years. I think we've gotten a lot better, but I remember when I was a kid, I used to get yelled at a lot, and I mean a lot. And if you guys know me at all, if you guys have been on my channel for a while, and maybe you can even tell this just from watching the video for as long as you can, even though if you're new to my channel. I'm a pretty sensitive guy. I would like to consider myself a nice guy, and being sensitive is good and a bad thing. It's good for, you know, being a content creator because it just means you're perceptive, it means you care about what people think, and that's good for when you're making content. But being sensitive in a whole bunch of other categories, sometimes it's not the greatest thing. So when my dad used to yell at me, it was, honestly, for me, it was either just because I was so sensitive or just because maybe it was as extreme as I'm, you know, putting it off to be. But it felt like abuse. It felt like verbal abuse and emotional abuse, and I just felt I felt terrible. I felt afraid, and honestly, I kind of felt like a stranger in my own home, and it was terrible. It really was, and that happened for a really long time. I mean, eventually, I ended up talking to him. I went to counselors and and we ended up, me and my dad ended up sitting down and talking, and we're a lot better now. Like, I was just talking to him yesterday. I haven't seen him yet today because he's already left for work by the time I got up, but I'm sure I'll talk to him when he gets home. I mean, I'm not as afraid anymore, and I think that's one of the big things with me. But that definitely caused a lot of my anxiety, and I had what was called social anxiety. So pretty much what that is was, for me, mainly my big issue was in school. I mean, you guys know I upload gaming videos to YouTube that you guys watch now, so I mean, that doesn't seem like something out of the ordinary. But as a kid, when I was in high school, I got judged a lot for playing video games as much as I did. I mean, I was in that group of kids that they all played sports. They were all extremely athletic, and that was just kind of the thing to do, or that was the cool thing to do when you were a kid, right? But for me, you know, I wasn't into any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I played baseball for as long as I could before my back got screwed up, but that's not the same thing. You know, I enjoyed doing or playing video games more, and it was kind of like my little escape from the real world, and that's what I used to get away from all my things, all my anxiety and everything. I just kind of played video games and enjoyed myself and escaped to another world where I could actually have fun. And I got judged a lot in school for playing video games. I mean, I probably played more than any other kid, and obviously that doesn't bother me anymore now, right? Like, I mean, my job is to make videos for you guys here on YouTube, and 3/4 of those are gaming videos, and that doesn't bother me at all. But when I was a kid and I was getting made fun of for playing video games as much as I did, you know, when you're getting bullied by your friends, by people you're supposed to trust, and then by just random people that you don't know, that have no right to just say whatever they think, because they don't know you, right? It was bad. So I mean, I got bullied a lot when I was in school just for playing video games, and eventually it got to the point where people didn't really care too much anymore. But I still felt, I mean, like I said, I'm a sensitive guy. I still felt like the outcast of the group, or of my school, of just society in general, because of what I did and how I was. And it got so bad to the point where, I think this happens with everybody, even if I wasn't being judged, right? Even if I physically was not being judged at that exact moment, I think it was more of the fear of possibly being judged. And that's such a terrible thing to have, to be afraid of something that could possibly happen, like possibly happen, which is the point. Like, it might not even happen. Like, usually in high school, one of the big things, I mean, kids are so, obviously they're more focused on themselves, and they should watch what they say. Like, most people don't think about what they do or say before they do it, and that's the reason high school sucks so bad, is because everybody's just so focused on themselves. But in another way, that's kind of good that everybody's focused on themselves, right? So the people that are worried about being judged and worried about people looking at them weird for the way they are, or the way they look, or what they do, honestly, people are way more focused on what they're doing and the way they look and the way they act, rather than what you do and how you act. And I think that's something I didn't realize until I got a little bit older, but that was definitely a big thing. I wish I knew that when I was in high school, because that probably would have helped me a lot. This is what made it so bad, was the fact that, you know, your escape from something like school or work or whatever's making you so anxious, right? Your escape is to then come home, and you'll be home, you'll be away from everything, you're okay, you're safe. But for me, and for anybody else that's having an issue at home, whether it's, I mean, it could be anything. There are so many different levels of family problems, but if you have something going on at home, right, it's almost like having nowhere to run to. It's like, you know, you're leaving the place that's making you anxious and coming home to just another place that's making you extremely anxious. So it's a pretty terrible feeling, and that's the way I felt for the longest time, for what, 4 years of my life. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that. But one more thing that kind of just added to my whole situation was, at the time, at the beginning of my high school, I think I was a freshman or a sophomore, but the girl I was dating at the time, she was older, but she Not too much older. She wasn't like 45, but she was older, a little bit older. It was terrible. It was one of those bad relationships where she would go from extremely happy to making you feel like the happiest guy in the world. Or she would go from making you feel like the happiest guy in the world to making you feel like absolute shit. You know, she would go all completely suicidal and just breaking up with you and yelling at you. And it was a terrible feeling. And that happened literally like every single day. We would get in so many fights and so many arguments. And like I said, I'm a nice guy. I'm a sensitive guy. It was debilitating. It kind of felt like I just had no control. And already having the conditioned response of being afraid and anxious when I'm getting yelled at because of the situation that me and my dad used to go through, getting yelled at by her, you know, it just enforced the same response, even if I shouldn't have reacted the way I did. I would feel just terrible anxiety, and I felt that every day. It was so horrible. And I went on like that for a very long time, and obviously things have changed since then, and I'm obviously not dating her now. But it was a pretty rough time, so I wanted to cover just what I've been through, because literally the worst thing in the world is having to sit here and listen to somebody preach to you about anxiety or about how to help with some certain issue when they literally have no idea what they're talking about. They have not dealt with themselves. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how it feels. They couldn't possibly know how to fix it. But that's not the case with me. I've definitely been through anxiety. I've felt anxiety. I still feel anxiety. I'm even anxious recording the video right now just because I know, I mean, like I said, I'm bringing up repressed thoughts that I didn't want to think about. But I think everybody has a different story, and it's difficult and it's always hard to deal with. But I think there's overlapping components to the ways of helping you with anxiety that hopefully we're going to cover here in this video. So regardless of what type of anxiety you have, whether you're in that heightened state of anxiety where you're, let's say, in the middle of a panic attack, hopefully by the end of this video you'll be able to calm yourself down and you'll be able to look at things from a clear perspective, rather than feeling like you're completely helpless and just in no control at all, which most of the time that's kind of what anxiety does to you. You feel helpless, you feel like you're kind of just in a trance and there's just nothing you can do about it. But in reality, that's not true. So because of all those stressors that I went through, like I said, with my dad, with school, with the ex-girlfriend, it led to a big spiral of effects that actually led me to have an anxiety disorder. And I had something called Trichotillomania. For those of you guys that somebody can give a shot at spelling that, but some of you might know what that is, and some of you might even have that yourself. But basically, for those of you guys that don't know, it's where you pull your hair out of your head. And it doesn't even have to be out of your head. It could be, I mean, some people pull their hair out of their eyelashes, out of their eyebrows. It's pretty terrible. It's a terrible thing to have. And it's just like an OCD tendency. It's something that I used to do to try and relieve myself of the anxiety that I was feeling. I felt so hopeless and so in the moment of anxiety that I just didn't know what to do. And I think my brain kind of just had this like triggered response, so that whenever I was anxious, my hand would just shoot up to my head and I'd just start pulling my hair. And it was just kind of a way for me to hopefully relieve that stress. And it was nothing I could control at the time, and I felt so helpless. But in reality, I learned I could control it. And obviously I don't have that anymore. You guys can tell just by looking at me. I'm going to put a picture on the screen right now that is going to show you me with my anxiety disorder. And I looked a lot different. I almost looked dead inside, and I felt like I was. But obviously I didn't have any hair. I mean, I had a little bit, but going from somebody that was already socially anxious, is that a thing? I already had social anxiety. So to have 3/4 of my hair missing, and to, you know, whenever I feel anxious, have to just pull my hair, being nervous of what people would say and what people judging the way I look and act and the things that I do. Obviously the anxiety disorder did not help in any way, because having 3/4 of your hair missing would probably draw a little bit of attention, and that just heightened my anxiety even more, and it made it so bad. But I did get through that, and that's the whole reason I'm making this video now, is even though it's hard for me to talk about this kind of stuff and it's difficult for me to relive this kind of stuff in my head, I think that if it can help somebody, then it's definitely worth it. Now, like I said, there are plenty of different ways to calm yourself down while you're in that heightened state of anxiety. And I'm going to talk about what helps for me. Obviously, like I said, this might not help you. Like, it's not going to help everybody. Everybody's different. But I think that some of these things are at least worth hearing and at least worth trying if you do suffer from anxiety. So one of the biggest ways of relieving your anxiety, and this is what worked for me, but I think one of the biggest overlapping techniques of relieving your anxiety, whether you suffer from panic attacks, whether you just get very bad bursts of anxiety, whether you even just have normal anxiety, like generic anxiety with no cause to it, you're anxious at normal things that would make anybody anxious. the method that really works well is just literally slow, deep breathing. And I know that sounds very like cliche, like, okay, fine, like that, obviously. But I mean, if you're not breathing, that would be, you should probably call somebody, because that just doesn't sound like a very pleasant situation. But if you literally just focus on your breathing, if you just block everything else out of your head for a second and just focus on breathing deeply and just slowly in through your nose and out through your mouth, if you take like 5 deep breaths and just really focus on that, eventually it will calm your nervous system down. And that's all you want to do at that point, is just try and calm your nervous system down, because it's just so amped up, it's so on edge, that you really just need any way of calming it down. And deep breathing will do that. If you try hard enough and you really focus on just deep breathing, it will calm down your nervous system. It will. Now, before I made this video, I was watching some other videos of people that made videos like this to help people with anxiety. And obviously the majority of people have been through it themselves, and they had a lot of really good things to say. But I was watching one girl, her name was Zoe, and she used a really good reference that I wanted to tell you guys about. And I'm going to link her video also in the description in case you just want another opinion. But what she said is a really good way of thinking about it, is that picture your body as a car, right? You're on a car, or you're in a car. Your body's a car on a busy street, and your car alarm gets tripped by just the slightest gust of wind. Picture it like that. When everybody else's cars around you, you know, their alarms only go off when someone's beating the shit out of their windshield. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's literally it. Your nervous system, from the smallest of things, can get just completely thrown out of whack. And that's what happens to people with anxiety, and it sucks and it feels terrible. But hopefully for anybody that was still kind of confused on what anxiety is, or really like how to define it, or really how to picture it in their head for somebody that doesn't quite understand, hopefully that helps. But another really important thing to do, aside from deep breathing, and honestly that should be the literally first thing that you step to, and unless for a few different situations that we'll talk about here in a minute, but slow, deep breathing, that's a really big one. Another big one is focusing on the present, because I think a lot of people, including myself, when it comes to anxiety, it might not even be right in the moment, right? Obviously, you're going to be anxious if you're waiting in the lobby at a doctor's office and you're waiting for your x-ray results to see if you have like a tumor. I'm sure that would probably cause some anxiety. That would make sense. That's you being in the present and being anxious as shit. That makes perfect sense. The thing I'm talking about is when you're laying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning feeling extremely anxious for no apparent reason. You know, like your mind is probably just there's so many thoughts going through your head that you just don't really know what to do, and it causes anxiety, and that's the whole reason you feel so terrible. But staying in the present and reminding yourself that right now, in this very moment, right now, you're safe. You know, you're okay. There is nothing happening. Whatever you're nervous about, whatever you're anxious about, it is probably something that is going to happen in the future. Or something that might not even happen at all. Like that's the biggest part of anxiety, is just like I said in the beginning, it's before some sort of imminent event with an unknown outcome. So you don't know how something's going to turn out. You don't know maybe how to do something. You don't know what's going to happen, and that feeling of the unknown really scares people. And just reminding yourself to stay in the present, just focusing on right now, the moment you're in, right there. If you can step out of your body for a second and look in on your situation, like, right, you know everything that's happened, you know everything that's going on, and you just look in at the situation from different shoes, and you see that right now you're safe. You know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in bed, there's nothing happening right now, you're okay. There's no point in worrying about something that's going to happen in the future, because there's literally nothing you can do about it right now. You know, like there's nothing you can do to change the situation at that very moment. So there's no point in worrying about it. It's just to the point where you need to save the worrying for later. You know, you need to save the worrying for something that would be in a situation like if you're sitting in the doctor's office and you're waiting for x-ray results. That is a reasonable response. You know, there's a reasonable that's a reason to get anxious. That makes sense. But if you're anxious at 3 o'clock in the morning for no reason, that's where you need to remind yourself to stay in the present, because right now, like, you're okay. There's no reason to get anxious, you know? Maybe later on, you know, when you cross something that's going to make you anxious, yeah, you know, we'll get through that when we get there. But right now, you're okay. You know, you're safe, and you're all right. There's no reason to be anxious right now. And that, along with some deep breathing, usually will help. Hopefully, if that, like, can reach your brain, that usually will help. Another big one that literally you just saw me do in the video was talking yourself down. And I did that a little bit where I was saying, you know, you're okay, you're fine, everything's okay, you're in the present, there's nothing happening. Saying that kind of stuff to yourself, especially out loud, like along with breathing and along with really trying to calm yourself down, reminding yourself that it's going to be okay, you know, just calming yourself down slowly through words, through talking just from yourself, trying to talk yourself down. that actually really does help. And I do that all the time. If I can feel my anxiety rising and I don't really know what to do, and I don't really even know what's happening, I don't know why I'm anxious, or maybe I do know what's happening and I do know why I'm anxious, talking myself down and reminding myself that it's, it's gonna be okay, just breathe, just relax, you're safe, you're fine, right now there's nothing going on, there's no reason to be anxious, and reminding yourself of those facts really does help. Now another big one, this is kind of in a different situation, right? Like I said, there are different reasons, everybody has their own reason why they get anxious. I mean, some people get anxious in restaurants, some people get anxious laying in bed for no reason, some people get anxious in school. There's all sorts of different anxiety, and there's all sorts of different reasons to why your anxiety could be spiked. There's all sorts of different triggers, but I think one of the main things that really does help, if you're, let's say, in a restaurant and you're extremely anxious, or if you're in class or you're at a party and you get extremely bad anxiety and you don't know what to do, stepping away from whatever's making you anxious is so key. Whether it's walking outside for a minute, whether if you're at a party at a friend's house, just going into the bathroom for a minute, splashing some water on your face, and just getting a new environment, just really breathing in, still focusing, like I said, on everything else, talking yourself down, the slow deep breaths. But if you can step away from whatever's making you anxious at that moment, whether it's just heading to the bathroom and just putting water on your face, like I said, whether it's going outside and just feeling the air, breathing that natural air, that will help. Just really getting out of whatever situation is making you so anxious. If you're in a situation making you anxious, like this is not like I said, this is not the thought of something that could happen. This is literally like you're at a party and you feel extremely bad anxiety. So if you're in a place or a situation that's making you anxious, stepping out of the situation, just step out, take a step out for a minute, and just breathe and just try and calm your nervous system back down. And you definitely can. Everybody can. It just takes a little bit of practice. And well, I mean, the first time you try it, you'll probably fail, and that happened to me, that happens to everybody. It's just like the more times you try, the more you practice with it, the more you train your nervous system to calm itself down with the different methods that you're using, you'll be able to relax yourself and you'll be able to calm yourself down. I promise. It just takes time. It really does. Some of the other things that help, and these are just kind of generic things, exercising. Obviously, I mean, when your heart beats so fast, when you're in that heightened state of anxiety and your heart is beating fast, you're sweating, you just feel so anxious, like you don't know what to do. Exercising is a good way to let off that steam. Any sort of distraction is usually good. I mean, some people, like I said, deal with it differently, but I mean, they have different, for me, like I said, I went and played video games. That was my little outlet to just let it all out and just kind of forget about the real world for a minute. And other people just do other methods of that. Some people draw, some people write, some people listen to music, some people exercise. I mean, there's different ways to let that energy out and relax your body just by distracting it. So if you guys have a passion for something, whether it's drawing, whether it's writing, whether it's playing video games, whether it's exercising, something like playing sports, whatever it is, if you can just do that while you're anxious, just getting yourself to distract itself, getting your mind to distract itself, that is really important, and that can actually help. I mean, like I said, everybody's different, and some people would much rather it be just extremely quiet. Maybe put some calming music on, maybe you jump in the bath, like a nice hot bath is usually helpful to relax yourself. Some people just like to go the quiet road, and honestly, that's what I like to do. I now, at least, I used to just play video games, and that was my way to kind of let it out. But for me, what works better now is just trying to relax myself. So putting on calming music, and just kind of watching YouTube videos or something that can just keep my mind distracted, but also keep me calm. And then the slow deep breathing and stuff also helps with that. It just kind of takes practice and takes time. So for people that know someone that suffers from anxiety and you want to help but you don't know how, that's one of the big things I also wanted to talk about in this video. And the first tip I would give to you is research anxiety. Like I said earlier, there's nothing worse than talking to somebody that has no idea what they're talking about, but pretends that they do and tries to, tell them what's right and wrong when they really have no clue what they're saying and they haven't been through it themselves. So how could they know? If you research anxiety and you kind of just inform yourself on what it really is and what's going to happen and why it happens and all that kind of stuff, it will help. It'll make them feel like they're not alone, and that's really, really important. Another big one is just staying calm. If you can stay calm and talk to them calmly, that's going to help, because obviously if someone's already anxious and they're already freaking out, they don't want you freaking out too, because that's just going to be a big ball of just not fun for anyone. So staying really calm and just reminding them that they're safe, they're okay, whatever is making them anxious right now, it's just you and them. Like, they're okay, you're safe, you're all right, you're together, and you guys will go through it. You guys will go through it together. You just need to calm the other person down, and staying calm yourself is going to help you do that, and hopefully help them see that there's no reason to be anxious right now. You know, they can be calm. They can calm themselves down. They just have to try, and they just have to focus on it, and that's really, really big. Obviously, they don't choose to be anxious, right? Like anxiety is a mental disorder. That's what it is. Nobody likes to hear it like that, but that's what it is, and it's not their fault that they have anxiety. It's not anything they caused upon themselves. It's not like they did something wrong. It's not like they want to be anxious. It's just the way they are right now, and if they seem like they're thinking unrationally, or maybe they're not thinking straight, that's just the anxiety, and it's not their fault that they have it. So being patient and understanding, and really just being sensitive and caring, and just kind of just sitting there with them and staying quiet and staying calm and reassuring them that they're going to be okay. It's all going to be all right, that you're here, you're right there with them. You know, you guys are going to get through it together, and just helping them like that will really, really help them relax. So to kind of close off this video, guys, I just wanted to say that just remember you're not alone. I think that's one of the biggest things. I mean, I know how debilitating anxiety can make you feel, and I know how hopeless it can make people feel, but I promise you, I promise that you're not alone, and that there are people that care. I care. There are plenty of people that deal with anxiety every single day. Honestly, everybody that lives on this earth deals with anxiety. Some people a lot worse than others, but everybody has anxiety. It's just something that we have to manage and deal with, and we will, and we'll all do it together. It's just something that you have to work with. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, rating. If you guys are new around here, be sure to subscribe for new content. We're making videos every day on this channel, so for more content from me, be sure to subscribe. But I want to leave you guys with this. In the comments below, obviously, I've shared my story. I've told you guys the things that I've gone through and my ways of helping. I would love it if you guys in the comments would feel free to just leave your story. Leave some bit of advice for anybody that's either struggling with anxiety now, or, you know, if you're somebody that's gotten through it already, if you're somebody that's learned how to deal with it for yourself, let people know how. Let people in the comments know that they're not alone, because that is such a big factor. That's such a big thing, is feeling hopeless and alone, like you're the only one that's dealing with this, like nobody knows what I'm going through. That's not true. You know, like there are so many people that deal with this every day. I deal with this. I understand. There are so many people that do. So if you guys want to open up in the comments, if you guys want to let us know, let us into your life. You know, open up, tell us what's going on. If you've already gotten through anxiety and you know how to get through it, leave that in the comments. Feel free to say whatever you guys want. Obviously, this is the internet, and there could be some trolls out there that are just going to be ignorant. But I promise you, I promise, there's a big group of people that do care. And I think that the bad people in this world, the people that are ignorant and that are just gonna, you know, be rude and all that, I think they're just louder than the good people. And the good people, there's a huge amount of good people in this world that do care. And I want you guys to feel free and not be afraid to leave comments on this video, sharing what you guys go through, or even asking for help. That's completely fine. I mean, I'll be reading the comments of this video, and like I said, I'm here, I care, and I'm not the only one. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I've been Xclusive. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you did, be sure to leave a like, rating. It really does help out. And I hope you guys get through it, because I know that when I went through my anxiety, it was the worst time of my life, and I still deal with it now, but it's a lot better managed, and it doesn't control my life, and it doesn't have to control yours. So hopefully this video helps somebody. If it helped somebody somewhere, then this video is worth making. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you guys next time.